Hello, writers. Today we have some exciting work to do. You have studied immigration quite a bit and know a lot of background about certain immigrants. Today you're going to actually be working on writing a historical fiction piece about a person who could have been an immigrant. So our teaching point says, I can plan and create a historical fiction piece of writing in the form of a journal. Step 1 is you're going to complete an immigrant profile. So this will be the first page, and it says immigrant profile. Write your name, your first, your middle, your last name, your birth date, the month, day, year, birthplace, town or village in the country, and country of destination. One thing we need to think about is, where do I find information to create a character that makes sense? Well, you've studied them in your social studies book. You've read about them in the books that we did for our Immigration Expert Project. So the first thing you need to do is think about what background you have already. One area I know a lot about is German immigration because I'm a German, or my ancestors were German immigrants. So I know my last name, which used to be Highland, is a German name, and Eichstätt is German. So I could do a version of that. I could write Holland, which is how my name used to be spelled. It looks almost like Holland. I also know a German first name could be Christina, and I could then come up with a middle name as well. When I come to the birth date, I want to think about when they came over. Now, there is some immigration going on today for Germans, but not quite as much as in the past. So I might think about a year, and I might think about maybe the Holocaust was going on. So people were coming over because they didn't like what was going on in Germany. The birthplace might get a little bit trickier. We might have to actually look that up online. And the country then is Germany. The country of destination for everyone then is America. The next part of your immigrant profile has you do some thinking about why I'm leaving my homeland. I'm leaving my homeland because, think about those push and pull factors. So let's jot that down. This will be the push and pull factors. The second question is, here's who I will travel with. We know a lot about if people traveled alone or with their families and why those different reasons are. Remember, sometimes they would travel with their whole family, but often, because of money, the head of the family would head over first, and then the rest of the family would come later. Therefore, if they didn't all come together, they had to leave someone behind. Or maybe grandparents couldn't come over because they didn't think they could make the journey. So think about who you would have to leave behind. Next, you're going to think about, here's what I need to bring with me, and what is your reason for bringing it? We know that you often didn't have a lot of space, and you might have 1 or 2 pieces of luggage. So what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things would be really important? When we read My Journey to America, remember they brought along some things that were important to their different cultures or to their holidays. And while I may not think, oh, the first thing I would bring is the candlestick, remember that was an important artifact for one of their Jewish celebrations one of the families brought over. Last on this part, you're going to explain, here's how I will travel. Is it by land? Is it over the sea? Is it by the boat? Then it says, here's what I need to sell or leave behind in order to make the trip. If there were items left that you couldn't take, sometimes you would leave it with other family members. Sometimes you would just leave it behind. Other times you could sell it to make a little bit of money. Here's where I will live and how I plan to support myself when I arrive. So think about, will you stay right in New York? Are you going to move farther west? Here's an example of a completed form. So the immigrant profile, the name is Rosa Goldberg Cates, born September 9th, 1924 in Frankfurt, Germany. Wanting to go to the United States. I'm leaving my homeland because of the Holocaust. I will travel with my 2 kids, Axel and Nadine. I left behind my whole family and everyone I know. Then on the second page, he's going to bring clothes, or she's going to bring clothing, maps, and compass, and the reasons are to stay warm, to stay on track. Going to travel by foot, Frankfurt, Germany to New York to Pennsylvania is the route. And then you can see the rest up there as well. Step 2 is you need to do some planning. This you can just do right in your notebook, and you're just going to think about, if I'm writing a journal, what might happen on day 1, day 2, day 3. This can be some simple bullet points of what will happen. What are some ideas if we are going to talk first about the journey? Second day, I don't know, maybe it was the end of the journey, so now we have them at Ellis Island. Third day, maybe they're still at Ellis Island, or maybe the third day she actually writes in her journal, she's now finding her new home. Your days could go in order, so it could be June 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or maybe it's spaced out. We know their journey could take many, many months, so maybe we jump then over to December. And on the third one, maybe it's springtime now again. So let's turn and talk about that. If you were writing this journal, what kind of things would happen on the journey, the Ellis Island, and the home that you would write in a diary? Step 3 then is to actually write your journey journal. Let's take a look at what that would look like. Here's a sample from a student from last year. Let's start down here where it says January 9th, 1942. We have finally boarded the ship. They asked us a bunch of questions before we got on. We slept in a room with 4 other families. Axel is asleep with me, while Nadine sleeps on our stuff. It's a little weird for us parents to get along while the kids were with each other right away. Or for us parents to be alone while the kids were with each other right away. January 13th. I know what it feels like to be seasick. The motion of the back and forth angers my stomach. The first 2 days were nothing but sun and shine, but now the skies are dark and gray. You can see how he's describing kind of one event for each day and how they're feeling. It then continues on to the second page. Step 4 is create a cover that ties your journal together. So here's a bunch of different examples. This one actually goes together. This is the front and back. So the student called it Immigrating to the Golden Lands. And then had a ship on the front and on the back. This one is My Trip to America, and put some of those icons that we think of with immigration. Statue of Liberty, a flag. Or you can just name it the name of the journal of the person in your book. So Marie's journal, and they have like the key and the lock and a little sketch there. Or the journal of Tom Meyer. So think about what will really get the reader thinking about your journal. So writers, for the next week, we're going to be working on this project, your immigration journey journals. We'll upload this video to Google Classroom if you need to review it later on. But remember, there's just 4 steps. First, an immigrant profile. Plan out your character. Get that checked with a teacher when you're all set. Then, plan at least 3 days of events. Step 3, write your journal. And step 4, design a cover.